Hey YouTube, it is League Turnover today. A couple weeks left in the season. We have Retro Cup, which is Great League, 1500 CP, no Dark, Steel, or Fairy. So it is three of the typings that were not in the sort of OG, like maybe first series there. So we've seen this before multiple times, which means we can look at old teams because PVPOKE has not updated when I'm filming this. I'm filming this 9:40 the night before the turnover here. So I'm less than like 10 hours before this goes up. The updated rankings were not there. However, you can update the rankings yourself, which I did. You just go to the custom settings and eliminate those three typings, and this is what you get. I tried to do that with team building, but it didn't really work. It was just like spinning. So I've got old teams here, so it won't reflect all of this. I'll kind of talk about how you can like maybe adjust, but these rankings should be pretty much up to date. So you have, again, just think about what is banned, and that will give you an indication of what is strong. So Fairy, Dark, and Steel. So as you can see, Dark being banned, there's a crap ton of ghosts. Dust Noir, Casola, Dustclops, Driftblim, Jellicent, right? Grumpig, you can argue to a certain extent because it's psychic. Orangaroo, which is psychic, same thing. So Dark being banned. So with Dark being banned, all these psychic and ghost types get a leg up. Fairy being banned, your fighters get a leg up. So even though fighters hit super effective against Steel and Dark, which are two of the banned ones, having your biggest issue of Fairy being banned makes it very, very good for you. So Primape's near the top. That's why Machoke and Machamp are up there. Gallade with close combat makes an appearance as well because it is half fighting. So all your fighters that no longer need to worry about the Fairy are good. Steel's kind of one where I think they maybe like Jump Pluff and these Confusion users get a buff, right? So you have Jump Pluff was always kind of a top ranked Pokemon, but Steel, all the Steel moves would resist. Steel would resist all the moves that Jump Pluff has, and it's the same with Orangaroo. I mean, outside of Brutal Swing, but Confusion being resisted. Orangaroo is going to be on a few teams because it really stepped up because of in the last Retro Cup, because two of the three, Steel and Dark, which resist Confusion, are banned. So when you ban those two, really you just need to watch out for like Psychic Pokemon to resist the Confusion. Trying to think if anything else resisted Confusion. I don't think so, which is why you're now seeing more Psychic users. You do have Grumpig and you do have Claydol, so you do have a couple more Psychic Pokemon out there. So maybe Orangaroo this time around probably doesn't have as much play. So I'll kind of mention that when we go over the teams here. So that's why you see so many ghosts. That's why you see the Psychic Pokemon. And then the sort of other ones, again, there's some that just kind of fit the bill of what is banned resist, right? So Aurora fits the bill of Jump Pluff in the fact that Powder Snow, Weather Ball, Meteor Beam, all resisted by Steel. So now Steel's gone, so you have a lot more play there. Emolga, there's no real reason why Emolga should rise in the rankings. I think it rises in the rankings because if Fairy is banned, then you just lost one of your main answers to Primeape, especially with all these ghosts around. Primeape is going to have problems with ghosts to a certain extent, but it has Rage Fist to hit super effective against this. You have answers there. You have Ferret, and then you see Ursaring as a normal typing 2 is up here. So you only have a couple answers to Primeape, and then having a flyer would be a nice one. Plus, it's got some combo with like Lapras and Jellicent on this list. And then there's just Pokemon that are just like better this season, right? So you have Ferret with buffed Swift, plus having that Sucker Punches with all these ghosts, right? So Dark is banned, but Dark moves are not banned. So Ferret with Sucker Punch, you're good. Ursaring as a normal typing gets a buff because Dark is banned, which means there's more Ghost. There's already a lot of Ghosts in this meta, but now there'll be more Ghost. And you have the normal typing that resists Ghost. You have the Shadow Claw, which is super effective against Ghost. And you have a close combat that can hit your sort of normal typings that Shadow Claw is resistant on. So that's why that's so high. Any other Pokemon I have not mentioned yet? Lapras is Lapras, right? We know Sideways Sparkling Aria is a dominant combo there with Psywave for your fighters. So that is the meta. So just keep that in mind as we look at old teams here. Now I'll kind of talk about how these old teams play in the current meta here. So let's get rid of this. Let's put on the first one. Girafarig, Chargerbug, and Diggersby. So one Girafarig and your Oranguru had a crap ton of play last time, and that is exactly the same reason that I mentioned before. Steel and Dark are banned, which means two of those things that resist confusion are now gone. And confusion types were not a big thing in the past. So the Grumpig wasn't a thing. Claydol wasn't a thing. So Psywave, or Confusion here I should say, had a lot of play in this meta. So that is why Girafarig is there. I still think Girafarig and Oranguru will have play in this meta. I think Oranguru gets probably the bump because there will be a lot more Ghost. So with so many more Ghosts, you can deal the Brutal Swing to deal with that. So that's why I think it's better. But if you have not used Shadow Girafarig before, just the Shadow Confusion damage really adds up. It's a 2-shield beast. And that is why it is paired with Chargerbug and Diggersby, because Girafarig is a 2-shield beast, but you need to burn shields on it, and you need bulky Pokemon in the back. And Chargerbug, Diggersby is still very, very strong in this meta. Your normal typing, you'll resist all the Ghost, although Quick Attack is also resisted on Ghost, so it's kind of a weird matchup there. So there's Diggersby, and then Chargerbug, again, very, very strong. You know, you got your Lapras, and you got like your normal waters like Feraligatr and stuff. None of that is banned. So you have your water Pokemon that you beat, and then just kind of just has bulk and has some coverage. But the grounds are still out there too. And I'm trying to think what's banned. Nothing that matters in the banning for these Pokemon here. Shadow Dragonair, Superior, and Jumpluff. Dragons were the second typing that got a huge buff for the same reason that other things have got a buff. One, Dragon was resisted by Steel, and two, Fairy hit super effective against Dragon and also resisted Dragon. So you had two typings that were now on the sidelines where your fast move was resisted, and one that hit super effective against you. So Dragonair, for those of you who remember, Body Slam got nerfed. You're going to see Arctibax on a team coming up here. At this point, I would probably use Arctibax or other dragons besides Dragonair. Guzzlord is obviously probably one that's risen a lot too. Nope, Guzzlord's banned. Sorry, Guzzlord is banned because it's dark. I caught it pretty quickly there. Guzzlord is banned because it's dark, so you'd have to go with Arctibax was one that had a lot of play. So replace Dragonair with Arctibax or another dragon of your choosing, or you can try Dragonair, but the Body Slam nerf makes it a little less. Jumpluff is still fantastic, and Superior is a great Pokemon as well. Again, when one of your typings that is resisted is out, which is Steel, and one of the Superior's biggest weakness was your Ice Steel in Sandslash. So with that gone, you got coverage for fighters. Frenzy Plant still hurts a lot. You got Bulk. This is double weak to fire Pokemon in the back. There's a little more fire now. There's Shadow Typhlosions a bit more. I've seen Skeldurge a couple times now. So a little more fire now, but Dragonair, it's in sort of ABB style team, will deal with that. And triple weak to ice though. Triple weak to ice though. But Sandslash is gone. Dugong's still out there. So there's still some ice out there. So maybe don't go that. But yeah. This is more, I think, balanced. Arctibax, Feraligatr, and Superior. So I just talked about Superior. I mentioned Arctibax because I think it's a better dragon to use in this. You can still have the Dragon Breath damage with, I think, better moves. Dragon Claw and Avalanche. As a half ice, you do pick up a fighting weakness, but so be it. And then Feraligatr, I don't need to explain Feraligatr too much as a very dominant Pokemon. Ferret, as you can see, the very, very, very old moveset of Brick Break and Dig obviously use Swift and Trailblaze because that is the better moveset to use. But Sucker Punch in especially a Ghost dominated meta that is this season is going to be very, very, very strong. Talked about Archbox. Walrein. Walrein's kind of a I'm seeing if there's anything. Again, steals are gone, so your Powder Snow's not as resisted as much. Jumpluff is a top 2 Pokemon, so it's a nice answer to that. You're pretty spammy. I like Walrein, but I don't know if it's a must use. You can use Dugong. You can see the mid range here are both ice Pokemon. I don't know if that was deliberate because I don't see any reason. They're both weak to fighting, and so is Ferret, so I don't even know if I'd use this team. And then Oranguru, I kind of mentioned, the confusion damage is fantastic in this meta. Plus you have the brutal swing to deal with ghosts. Plus you can buff your already hard-hitting confusion with Trailblaze. Gives you some options there. So this was, I remember this submitted team, Hackmo Double Fire. And this was a legend team. It was I remember it was a legend team because they talked about Turtonator a lot. And Turtonator is kind of a sneaky, so you got your double fires. You know, there's other options for fires. I mentioned Typhlosion, stuff like that. Skeledirge. So there's a lot of fires out there that could be used on this team. Hackmo, because of the Guzzlord being banned, they used Hackmo instead. Turtonator is a sort of sneaky. I don't like using Turtonator just because you can see that the moves, it takes 15 incinerates to get to these moves, and they're not like blast burn nukes or anything, but your trade-off is you do have a lot more bulk than some of these other fire Pokemon. So you got that. So yeah, it was a double, I remember it was a double fire double dragon combo team here, and the user swore by it. Primeape, Dugong, Clodsire, or Ferret. Yeah, just again, I think Ferret makes you double weak to fighting if that's an issue for you. Clodsire is more balanced. Yeah, nothing. I was about to say, does anything kind of stand out here? Not really, right? You have Primeape with your fast spamming and the Rage Fist to cover all the ghosts and the close combat to nuke. You have a Dugong, which is a great save swap. And you have, jump offs up top. It does fine against all the ghosts. Maybe more people this season will now just go with Lapras instead of Dugong. So I could see a lot more Lapras being as the safe swap instead of Dugong. Clodsire is still Clodsire, so still probably has play on it. Although it's not even in the top ranks, which is kind of interesting. And then, obviously, there's Goodra as your other dragon. I've already explained why dragons are so strong. Miltank with the rollout nerf. I don't think there's a point to use Miltank anymore. And then Marowak with the Fire Spin, Bone Club, Shadow Bone is another fire option. Why was there so many fires in this meta? Especially with Fairy being banned. I mean, Marowak is a ghost, so Dark is banned, so that gives you a little leg up there. But there's also a lot of dragons, right? Confusion users. I don't know. With Ferret with Sucker Punch and a lot of ghosts out there, I don't know if Marowak's actually the best play. But just to give you some history about what was out there in the past, just so you have some idea of what could be out there again. So yeah, I'm surprised there's not as many. I guess there's a decent amount of normal typings here, and normal typing double resist ghosts. So I was just trying to think off the top of my head why Feraligatr is not on this top 20 list. And yeah, let me just, as we're at the end of this video here, I just want to go one more time, just make sure PVPOKE still doesn't have it. Rankings, and nope, still has Great League Remix here. Interesting. Maybe he's busy. But yeah, so these are the custom rankings in PVPOKE. You go to Great League, you go to custom rankings, Great League, exclude Dark, Fairy, and Steel, and you simu, and this is what comes up. Yep, this is the list. So, I mean, a lot of these do make sense if you just think about it from like the practical reasons, what's strong anyways. I'm just kind of surprised that, well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because I'm trying to compare it to the Open Great League. And let me just see if I can bring up this is me going, I was going to say me going very off script, but let's be serious. I don't have a script. So here is the Open Great League. I'm just going to cover my face so you can kind of see this list here. And let's move it below this so we can just see a little more of this. Okay. So here is the list of the Open Great League. So the thought process is, why are some of these top Pokemon no longer there, and while others have moved up, right? So Clodsire not being there sort of makes sense to a certain extent, right? You have Steel gone, which you hit super effective with the Earthquake. You have Fairy gone, which you hit super effective with the Poison. Dark is sort of a neutralish matchup, and because Darks are gone, there's a lot more Ghost, which Poison, Sting, and Sludge Bomb are resisted. So all net neutral. You got a lot of Ghosts on this list. You have some Water on this list. You have a couple Psychic users with Psywave, and Psychic with, I just mentioned Oranguru at 13 and Shadow Girafarig are now plays. Clodsire was going to have a lot less play. Jumpluff's up there, Manabuzz is banked, Corsola is up here, Corviknight, Steel is banned, Lapras is up here, Dusclops is up here, Malamar is banned. So far, it actually fits what makes sense. But then Shadow for Alligator is at number 11 and 13, and it is not on this list. And that's why, again, I'm still very confused why it's not on this list, especially with so many ghosts at the top here. I thought that for Alligator would have a little more play. I know Primeape and Jumpluff both beat it, and Ferret with double resisting the ghost move has play, and then maybe you're just a little too glassy. So maybe that's why you fell a bit. Sableye, Malamar, banned. Weezing, banned. Grumpig on the list. Tink, banned. Diggersby is not on this list. Again, it's kind of a weird one. The Diggersby Ghost matchup is very, very tricky to play out because Diggersby as a normal typing resists Ghost, so you're thinking fantastic, but at the same time, your Quick Attack as a normal move is double resisted by Ghost. So your Quick Attack doesn't do much. You're left with Scorching Sands, and some of these Pokemon like Dusknoir have Dynamic Punch, so maybe that gives them an edge up. And then your Dusclops has Ice Punch, which is super effective, so maybe that's why it does a little bit better. So maybe that's why Diggersby went down a bit. Plus some of these Pokemon, now there's the fairies are banned, so fighters are a little more prevalent, right? You now have Machoke and Machamp in the top 20 with some Pokemon that have Ursaring, which has close combat, so maybe that's why Diggersby has fallen a bit. Azumarill is a fairy, which is banned, and then we're into the 20s anyways. Gastrodon. Gastrodon is a ground water, probably still has the normal amount of play that it normally does. But then Togetic banned, Carbink banned, Jellicent's on the list. Annihilape is fighting Ghost, so that's okay. So maybe Annihilape could be another one that you can use. Steelix is banned, and then you're down to Pangoro's banned. So there's a decent amount of the top 40 here that are banned. So it makes sense that everything that seems to be banned is out. Some of these that are already in the top 20 are in the top 20. Some of these that are slightly lower get a little rise because of what's been banned. So I guess all in all, it does make sense, except for the Feraligatr. I still don't understand the Feraligatr. Anyways, so that is it. We will focus on this meta. I'm sorry, Master League players. I appreciate you going hard for Master League, and I know Master League can be very, very fun. Doesn't get the views, not accessible, all that fun stuff. Retro Cup is accessible, and you know what? We like Open Great League. I like the Great League Remix. I don't know if I like the Great League Remix 2 weeks in a row, but I like the Retro Cup for 1 week when there's only 3 typings out of 13? How many typings are there? 13-ish typings, only 3 banned. That still leaves you with a lot of typings and a lot of options for team building. So we'll go with that. I have no idea what I'm going to start with. I know what is strong based on the past. I'm probably going to start with some sort of, honestly, I'm going to start with some sort of Dragon, maybe Oranguru plus combo there. Because I do think that Dragons still are strong. I know that Oranguru is strong in this meta. And then just kind of find a third. I don't know what the third will be yet, but we'll team build probably at 4 o'clock tomorrow when League turns over and I'm on the bus going home from work. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.